I really don't want to have to do this, but good morning, bad news! Guys, Call of Duty unfortunately might be in some pretty big trouble, and unfortunately it has a lot to do with the whole Microsoft Xbox acquisition, the whole merger, you know, them buying Activision Blizzard. If you guys haven't been keeping up with the latest news or you haven't seen this stuff, then I'm gonna catch you guys up. I'm gonna fill you guys in with what's going on. I'm recording this video on Friday, and some of this information came out on Thursday that Xbox and Microsoft, they laid off like almost 2,000 employees. I think roughly 3 to 4 months after the acquisition went through and after they bought Activision Blizzard. And as you guys can see from this Charlie Intel tweet, we have more specifics about how much of the staff was actually laid off. Sledgehammer Games lost 30% of their staff, almost a third of their employees. High Moon Studio, which is one of the supporting studios, they lost over 10% of their staff, and Toys for Bob lost over 30% of their staff. I believe the number's actually closer to 40%. Both High Moon Studio and Toys for Bob are some of the supporting studios that have been helping with the development of the recent Call of Duty games and stuff. And it also says here that Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Raven, Solid State Studios, Beanox, and Demonware had many layoffs as well. I'm guessing not as significant as Sledgehammer and High Moon and Toys for Bob, but Charlie does finish off the tweet here saying every Call of Duty team saw a reduction in staff, and how this affects COD in the future is TBD. Which does mean that we don't know exactly how this is going to affect the current Call of Duty game Modern Warfare 3 and also future COD games, but that's not really a great sign. I've definitely seen some replies to these tweets, and I've seen some not so great takes, but there also are some decent ones too. Hunter TV here says, imagine having to make a Call of Duty in only 16 months. You suffer, you work overtime, deal with crunch, and then you get laid off like nothing. And Charlie replied saying, just insane. Call of Duty is insanely profitable, $3 billion plus yearly. Xbox wants more content on even more platforms, and firing people will just make that worse and harder to accomplish. And that's absolutely true, and we'll get to that in a sec because there are some more follow-up tweets and there's some more information to share with you guys. Next Call of Duty will be called Budget Warfare. Oh no. Yeah, here's the follow-up tweet from Charlie Intel saying that Toys for Bob laid off 35 people, which was about 40% of their staff, which just goes to show that Toys for Bob is one of the smaller studios, one of the smaller supporting studios that's helping with Call of Duty. So, you know, I guess thankfully it's not as many people, but that's still 35 people losing their jobs, which is obviously still really shitty. And just for even more perspective, in October 2023, they were saying the future is bright when they had, you know, like the Activision and Xbox campuses kind of like merged together. Here's like all the employees and stuff. And Mike Ybarra had tweeted saying Fun Day and Blizzard did a great job welcoming Xbox and Team Xbox to the campus. Future is bright and we can't wait to share it with all of our player communities. But then in January of 2024, he leaves Blizzard. But what really caught my attention was this series of tweets that Charlie Intel was reacting to. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that this is kind of like a what if situation. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to happen to Call of Duty, but over the years, there have definitely been some QA issues. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, it's quality assurance. It's the people who actually play test the game and make sure that the game's running properly, that it doesn't have as many bugs and glitches and weird issues and exploits and stuff like that. That's what the QA people do. Their sole purpose, their job, is to make sure that the game is of good quality. And when you get rid of those people, or if you outsource the work, it's probably not going to be as good. So check this out. We'll read what Charlie had to say in a sec, but he was quoting this from Jason Schreier, and Jason had said, as usual, one of Halo Infinite's biggest development problems was labor. A large chunk of 343 workers were on contracts and couldn't stay longer than 18 months due to Microsoft restrictions. Full-time promotions were rare, so the studio was constantly losing talent and knowledge. The entirety of Microsoft has a long history of using and being sued for abusing contractors. And then this guy, Ben Gilbert, replied saying, this contractors bit is fascinating to me. Surely Microsoft leadership knows that it takes longer than 18 months to make huge AAA games like Infinite. So why employ so many contractors? Is this just a bureaucracy thing where Microsoft is huge and makes lots of other things? And then Jason replied to that saying, the limit is because they want to avoid the permatemp situation that got them sued a while back. But they insist on still having X percentage of the headcount be contractors because corporations. Now, if you guys remember the Halo Infinite launch, the game unfortunately did not launch with that much content, and it also experienced a lot of delays. It was missing core features like split-screen co-op. The campaign was really just not as good as older Halo campaigns because instead of opting for the typical linear story missions, they decided to go the open world route, and it really wasn't that great of an open world. The Halo Infinite campaign wasn't necessarily terrible, but that's not really the reaction that you want to have to a video game. You want to be saying good things about it. You want to sing its praises, not be like, yeah, it wasn't complete trash. It is very, very frustrating to see games try to go the open world route when it doesn't really make sense for the actual gameplay or the game itself. Not every game needs to be an open world game, and I believe that Halo is one of those games as well as Call of Duty. The Modern Warfare 3 campaign got roasted so hard for being one of the shortest Call of Duty campaigns ever, and a big part of that was those open world missions. Open combat is what they called it. Now, I personally didn't have as big of a negative reaction to the Modern Warfare 3 campaign compared to some people, but I do understand that while we have varying opinions, I still don't think that Call of Duty should be doing missions like that. I don't like the open combat stuff as much as I like the scripted linear missions that we all came to know and love from Call of Duty. And the reason all of this stuff ties in and why it's still relevant to Call of Duty is because Xbox and Microsoft own Call of Duty now. So the big question now is, Microsoft's going to learn from their mistakes with Halo and be able to apply that to Call of Duty, or are they just going to make the exact same mistakes with the COD franchise? And Charlie Intel kind of ponders that question here by saying, if Microsoft takes Call of Duty down the route of Halo, it will be disastrous. Halo has contractors who work on the game that Microsoft outsources work to, but those contractors only work for 18 months and they take a while to get up to speed on projects, and their contracts end before they're able to complete their work, which is just such an absolute disaster. It explains why Halo Infinite wasn't as good as it could have been, and yes, the game has gotten progressively better over time, but why on earth would you willingly want to launch a game that's incomplete, that's missing content, and then, get these contractors to work for a year and a half to get things up to speed, and then you can't even keep those people on board because you need to let them go and then bring in new people because you're trying to cheap out in every way possible and not actually just hire these people and pay them. It's crazy. And when it comes to the stranger takes, kind of the odd reactions that I've seen, I don't really want to give these people like the spotlight in this kind of scenario, but there are some people in the COD community, I'm not saying it's everyone, but there have been some people that are celebrating the layoffs. For some godforsaken reason, they think that it's good that these people got fired and that they're no longer going to be working on Call of Duty, and that it's somehow going to help skill-based matchmaking and the shadow ban issue on Modern Warfare 3 and the recent Call of Duty games. Laying off employees, whether they're new or even, long-term veterans at the studio, that is not going to help the game. And trying to replace them with people who have not worked on Call of Duty and are maybe not familiar with the engine and with the community and the long history of the game, having those people work on the franchise instead, I feel like is a mistake. I don't think that's a good direction. And it's being done to save money because they spent so much money buying Activision. They spent so much money to buy Call of Duty, and they better not fuck it up. And going back specifically to the Sledgehammer Games layoffs, this is one of the older tweets, but I want to bring it up anyway. With the newer information, we now know that Sledgehammer lost roughly 30% of their staff, but specifically those employees that were laid off, they were in the QA department, the art department, design, and others as well. So it's not just quality assurance, it's also the people who are actually, designing things, working on art. Obviously, it's not totally confirmed, but there's obviously been a big shift towards using AI, especially when it comes to replacing artists. And dude, I'm just saying, man, I wouldn't be surprised if AI is going to replace the people who, work on the designs for the guns and possibly even the blueprints in the store bundles too. Maybe we're going to have AI designing bundles that they're going to sell to us for like $20 to $30, which, whew, I'm not gonna lie, man, the future is looking bleak. It's looking scary right now. Oh my god, there was this one tweet too that said Microsoft has laid off the entire customer support team at Activision per Windows Central, and they're going to outsource all of the customer support for Activision and Call of Duty games, which, oh, it's so bad. And this is just a disaster, dude. I know so many people were actually really excited to see Xbox and Microsoft buy Call of Duty, and we were all, led to believe that it was gonna be a good thing and that, we're gonna have better Call of Duty games, but I'm not too sure now, man. I'm really starting to second guess it after all of this stuff has been coming out. But yeah, man, I'm trying to browse through Twitter. I'm trying to find this tweet. I don't know if Charlie Intel might have tweeted it, but I did come across a tweet that said that Microsoft and Xbox basically laid off everyone who worked on the physical side of things, like, the physical games and stuff like that. Yeah, Xbox reportedly shuts down their physical game release divisions. To the best of my understanding, this is the department that works on actually shipping the physical copies of games and working on that side of things. I don't know if this is going to affect like collector's editions and stuff like that and like the steelbooks, but it could. It's all the physical stuff, actual tangible items that are sold when it comes to video game sales and stuff like that. It really just feels like Xbox and Microsoft are trying to shift. They're trying to really move things into a different direction, and that direction basically means not selling physical copies of games, maybe skipping out on collector's editions and potentially even merchandise and stuff like that, and instead just focusing on Game Pass subscriptions and just making everything digital. I know that it's a good deal for a lot of people and it can save them a lot of money when it comes to trying out and buying different games and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with with it. But if it's going to have this significant of an impact on the physical side of things, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not okay with that. I like actually physically owning my games when it's possible. I love having certain collector's edition things. Back then, around the time of like Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, I would have loved to have the collectible Juggernog fridge, or even like the Black Ops 3. I think it was a supply drop or something like that. I would have loved to have those, but I either didn't have the money to spend on those things back then, or they were just out of stock. But they were so awesome, man. Like, these things were so cool, and it just feels like that aspect of gaming is going to be lost. It's going to be forgotten when it comes to the future generations, and that just kind of sucks. Now, specifically when it comes to the employees that were laid off and lost their jobs, I really do hope that they can find their footing and, you know, find employment at a place, at a company that will, you know, truly value their work and their time and effort, and not just easily dispose of them because they have a different plan going forward. We have to keep in mind that at the end of the day, these are just people. These are people who are trying to work hard at making these games for us. And if we try to tie this back into the future of Call of Duty and what's going to happen, we did get this tweet from Charlie Intel a bit ago saying that Sledgehammer Games' next Call of Duty game is going to release in 2027. So we already have some insider information about the upcoming Call of Duty schedule. We already know that in 2024, this year, we're going to be getting a new Black Ops title from Treyarch. It's most likely going to be some kind of like Black Ops Gulf War game. That's at least what the rumors have been saying. In 2025, they're saying it's going to be a sequel to Black Ops 2. Now, I don't know if they're talking about the original Black Ops 2. They very well could be, because this is the perfect year to do so. We've kind of talked about that in a previous video before. But at the same time, they very well could just make Black Ops Cold War 2, and then it could be a sequel to Black Ops Cold War 2, and maybe the wording is just off or something got lost in translation. I don't know. We will have to wait and see. But regardless of that, in 2026, we're going to be getting a new Infinity Ward game, which I know a lot of people are looking forward to after Modern Warfare 2, yeah. And then in 2027, we're gonna have a new Sledgehammer Games title, and I mean, what worries me more than anything when it comes to the future of Call of Duty games is that we're gonna have a Black Ops game in 2024, and then another Black Ops game in 2025, and then I don't know exactly what Infinity Ward's going to be making, but it's most likely going to be Modern Warfare 4. They're probably going to keep pushing that out, and then Sledgehammer Games, who knows? Maybe they're finally going to give them some kind of creative freedom to make Advanced Warfare 2, or just like a different type of game. But there's also that nagging thought in the back of my head that they're just going to be making another Modern Warfare sequel game, and they're just going to be sticking to this for as long as time can tell, which in my opinion would be a big misstep. I was actually thinking about making a separate video about this, but I really do think that Call of Duty has just been playing it way too safe as of lately. I know people really do love the Black Ops sub-series and the Modern Warfare sub-series, but they haven't been taking any creative risks, especially when it comes to the actual setting. I mean, dude, we've basically been using the exact same guns and playing on the same maps for so long now. We need a breath of fresh air. We need something new in Call of Duty, especially because these recent Black Ops and Modern Warfare games, they haven't been hitting the same. They haven't been as good as the games that we grew up with. They are getting a lot of content and stuff like that. Given the circumstances, I know that they're trying their best to try to deliver better games and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I do love the Black Ops sub-series and the Modern Warfare sub-series, but I also just want to see something new for the series. I want to see them try to go into a different direction, try some new things, and maybe that will help innovate the series. Maybe it will bring some new players in. But yeah, man, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. I really wanted to share all this info with you guys. I know it's a lot of different news and it's a lot to take in, but I had to talk about it because this is all going to affect the future of the Call of Duty franchise. You guys know that I love this series. I've been making so many videos on this game and playing it for so many years, and I want to see it succeed and thrive. But dude, we cannot ignore the big ugly elephant in the room, which is, honestly, at this point, Xbox and Microsoft. Those layoffs were absolutely brutal. And as of now, the future of Call of Duty is honestly looking kind of unclear. But with that being said, I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did and you want the future of Call of Duty to be better, make sure to drop a like. And I'll see you guys later.
Outcome, Triangle.